It was a little more than 15 years ago, and I was working in a great company. I had a great job, great career, and one day I got this funny feeling in my stomach that told me that that wasn't my path in life. It wasn't. I said, that's not what I'm here to do. But I didn't understand what it was, what this feeling was, and it really bothered me. And then some things happened, and this feeling got more and more intense. And I went home and talked to my wife about it, but she didn't understand because it was so intense that I was actually thinking about leaving the company. And for a lot of people, that was like, what? Are you kidding me? Anyway, so when I talked to her, she didn't understand. As a matter of fact, she was like, I don't think so. You know what I mean? You need to stay where you're at. And so I was like, I didn't feel like she understood me. So I went and talked to my best friend. And he was like, are you sure you really want to do this? And I was like, bruh, this is how I feel. And so when he saw that I was serious, he was really, really supportive. And he was telling me, I was like, you're a smart guy. You'll figure it out. You'll make the right decision. You'll make it, whatever. But when I left him, I was thinking, he's got a completely different life than I have. He lives in a different country on a different continent, and he just does a completely different thing. So why I really appreciated his support, but he can't really understand. And I was really longing for someone who really understood where I was coming from. So I went and talked to some other people, and some other people that I knew, acquaintances, friends. And they were like all telling me, man, you are crazy. You need to stay where you're at. Do you realize how many people would love to be in a situation like that? Do you realize that? And I was like, I know, but that's not what I need to hear right now. I said, this is how I feel now. They was like, yeah, but you just stay there because, And then one of the guys said, because that's what people do, Tony. This is like marriage, your marriage isn't always perfect. There's ups and downs, and sometimes you feel good about it, sometimes you don't, but you just hang in there and you stick with it. And I was thinking, yeah, I can't do that though. I don't want to get to the end of my life and say that there was something that I wanted to do, that is something I felt that I needed to do, and I didn't even try it. I didn't even try, I don't know if you know this about me or not, but I had an opportunity to spend an entire week with Michael Jordan, and when I was working for Nike. And he was on a promotional tour when I was in Germany. And, the reason I'm bringing this up now is because if you look up on the internet, some of his most famous quotes, one of them is, I can accept failure, but I can't accept not trying. And I felt, before I even heard that quote, I felt the same thing about myself. I said, I won't be able to accept that for myself later on in life when I said, like I said, there was something I wanted to do and I didn't even try. You didn't even try. A buddy of mine, Lou, he used to always make you feel bad because he would look at you like, he'd just look at you out of the side of his eyes, out the side of his face, and he'd be like, gee, it's like, it's just like you're just nothing because you didn't even try. You know what I mean? And so, one thing led to another, a couple things happened, and then, I got to the point after a year and a half of a lot of heartache, a lot of thinking, a lot of planning, I decided to leave and make that move. And that was more than 15 years ago. And one of the things that, when I look back on that time, one of the things that I felt really, really lonely. I felt really lonely about that. And I was telling myself, I said, you know what? I don't want anybody to have to do this, to have to go through this, to have to feel this way, because this just isn't cool. It just isn't. I don't want anybody to feel that way. I just don't. And so, when I went through that change, it was almost kind of like when you decide that you want to buy a new car. When you decide you want to buy that particular model of car, you start to notice out there all the different models of cars that there are like that, right? But those cars have always been there. You just haven't noticed them before. Well, the same thing happened to me whenever I decided to make that change. I started to notice just how many people there are out there who want to make some sort of change in their lives, whether it be their job, whether it be a project that they want to develop, a dream that they want to realize, a relationship that they want to change, or anything, whatever. And I just started to notice how many people are out there like that. And when I discovered that, I discovered that I could put them into three basic categories. And the first category was the kind of person who didn't know what they wanted. They just knew what they didn't want anymore. And they needed help to figuring that out. Needed help. Where do I want to go? Because you ask them, say, what do you want to do? I don't know. And then the second kind of person was the kind of person who really had a pretty good idea where he wanted to go, but they couldn't understand, or they didn't know the steps that they needed to take to get there. And they needed help figuring that out. And then there were the people who believed they had a pretty good idea of what they wanted to do. They believed they had a pretty good idea of how they needed what they needed to do to get there. But when they started looking, at their lives currently, and they were starting to think about, this job security that they had, that they were thinking that they might have to leave, or the responsibilities they said, that are all things that are absolutely, right to think about. It would be irresponsible not to think about that and just leave whatever you're doing to go to do something else when you don't even have a plan, but they couldn't find the courage to make that leap of faith. And so what I vowed was, I said, one, because I felt lonely in that period. That was probably the loneliest period of my entire life. I felt really, really lonely because I didn't have anybody to talk to. And also because I saw that there's people out there who need a method to make the change that they want to make. I decided to help them using what I know and just, sharing with them what I did. And so I wrote a book called The Courage to Change. And it really serves two purposes, as does my coaching program and the coaching stuff that I do. It serves really two purposes. One of them is to help people to understand you're not alone. Because, when I was going through that, I used to think that there's something wrong with me, because everybody's saying that it's a stupid idea for me to leave that job. But they didn't understand what I had inside of me. They didn't understand that I had this calling, this thing that I wanted to do. They didn't understand that. It was impossible for them to understand that. I used to try to convince them. I used to argue with people, and then I just gave up. I said, you know what? This doesn't make sense because they don't get it. But there's nothing wrong with them. It's just that they don't understand. But then I also said, there's nothing wrong with you either. And I want people to know that. That's why I wrote the book. That's why I do my coaching. That's why I do these seminars, because I want people to know there's nothing wrong. If you feel the way I felt, there's nothing wrong with you. There's nothing wrong with you. Okay? There isn't. And I want you to know that there's somebody out there who understands you and who cares and wants to help you. And that brings me to the second thing, which is the method. Those 5 steps. And those are the 5 steps that I went through. But the thing is, though, I had to create these all by myself. I didn't have anybody to talk to. So I had to just figure all this stuff out. And it took me a year and a half to do that. It took me a year and a half to get to the point where I could actually leave that company. And it took me about another 6 to 8 months after I left to really have the sensation that I was on track to get to where I really wanted to get to. And so what I'm saying is, for people who need that, it doesn't have to take that long anymore. There's somebody out there who's figured this all out. And if I had looked, maybe I would have been able to get some help too. But I don't know who that person is. I know what I've done, and I know what works. And I know what worked for me. And now I've tweaked it over the years. I've helped a lot of people over the years to change their lives and transform their lives. And that's what I'm here to do. When I was in, a couple years after I left the company, one of the things that I did, I went to a seminar and I did a lot of personal development courses, a lot of personal development stuff. And that was another one of the best things that I did. And one of the things that I did in one of those courses, I got help actually, because that was the crux of that particular course, was to figure out what your life's purpose was. And so, I discovered it with a really, really clear exercise, and it's always been the same and it's never changed over the years. And that life's purpose, my life's purpose is to use my communicative skills to help as many people as I can to improve their quality of life. And what does that mean? If you have a dream that you'd like to realize, I'd like to help you to do that. If you want to have more motivation, I'd like to help you to understand how you can do that for yourself and for others. If you have a project that you want to develop, I'd like to help you to plan that out. If you just don't feel good about the place that you're in right now in your life, and you want to see what you could do to better that position that you have, or you want to make more money, or if you want to start your own business, or whatever it is, I'd like to be one of the people to help you to get you on track to get to where you want to be, to get from where you are now to where you want to be. That's why I do what I do. And so that's what, helping people to better their quality of life means. Anyway, so I wanted to talk about this because, it's been a long time, but I haven't really talked about it like this, you know? And I always felt, I'm not gonna lie. I wanna be very, very upfront. I was a little bit, I won't say ashamed, but I was a little shy about, and you might think you don't look like you're shy, but I'm not really shy. I used to be real shy though. I really did. When I was in high school, I used to be real shy. But anyway, I used to be shy about talking about this and about telling people about this project that I've created, about this book that I've written, about these courses that, because one side of me says, I don't really like selling and I don't want it to be like hard sell. But what I've discovered is that there are so many people when they get up in the morning, and I would say that I would venture to say that it's more than 50% of the world's population that when they get up in the morning, they're not happy going to do what they're going to do. And I just think that's so sad, to go through life. And a lot of people, the reason that they're stuck in that, because they don't know what to do. They don't understand that there's more possibilities. Now, am I here to sell dreams and to sell smoke and to say that, anybody who wants to change can change? The reality probably is that there's a small percentage of people who, even if they wanted to, their situations wouldn't allow them to do that right now. But what I know is this, that there's a lot of people out there who don't believe it's possible, but it's possible. It is possible. They just don't know. There's so many different ways to do stuff and to get stuff done in this world that people just don't understand and don't realize. You know what I'm saying? I learned that a long time ago. And so what I'm here to do is to help to show you. And I've been talking about this for a while, and maybe like 5 minutes ago, somebody would say, okay, you talked about the 5 steps. What are they? And you didn't tell me yet. What are they? Okay, I'm going to tell you now. The 5 steps that I went through is, first of all, look yourself in the mirror. Before you do anything, you want to make a change in your life. You want to realize that dream. You want to work on that project. You want to leave your job. You want to go, you have a higher calling in life, whatever it is. Look yourself in the mirror first. But you got to have a method to do that though. You have to know how to do it. That's what I did. And I created this method to do that. Part of that method, part of it is like 1/6 of it is actually writing the story of my life. Because in that story, and I'm talking about 15 pages of my story, there were clues about what I should have been doing going forward in my life and what I should not have been doing anymore. There were clues. That's why I did that. Because there were things in there that I had forgotten completely about. The second thing is, and I'm not going to go into great detail because if you just keep following me, you're going to see that I'm going to be talking about a lot of this stuff anyway. The second thing is, and you say, okay, now that I've looked myself in the mirror, now I can start thinking about what I want. No, not yet. Because now it's time for you to do what we were just talking about before. You have to start understanding just how many possibilities there are. And to do this, I need to take your mind and I need to stretch it. And I need to open it up and to help you to understand that there's so many possibilities. I want you looking like Alice in Wonderland when she walks in there and she's like, wow, I didn't know there was all this stuff. You know what I mean? Because most people go through life and they're just like this. And that's all they see. That's all they've ever seen. And that's all they're going to keep on seeing if they don't do something different. But there's so many possibilities out there today that a lot of people just have no clue. There's a lot of different ways that you could change your life, even if you don't have any money, even if you have little money, even if you don't have any money at all. Because people have done it. I have a whole list of people that I can show you of the stuff that they've done with no money. Okay. And then once we've done that second step, now we can go to the part where we start thinking about what it is you really want. And I'll guide you through that process as well. And then after we've figured that out in the smallest detail, then we go on and we move on to the plan. Because you got to put together a plan. But even there, you have to know how to put together a plan. And then after you put together the plan, the icing on the cake, so to speak, is to make sure that you stay motivated. In my book, I wrote about 18 different things that I do to motivate myself. 18. So when you read them, it's not for me to say that those are the same things that have to motivate you. But what I do invite you to do is that you need to find out what it is that motivates you to stay on track, because you put together this beautiful plan. You went through all this work. Now you have to make sure you get it done though. Okay. Anyway, so those are the 5 steps. Anyway, I kind of feel like I'm rambling on, but I'm so excited about this. And so I was getting back to the point where, I was talking about how I feel shy. I used to feel shy about talking about this, because I don't want to seem like I'm making a hard sell and everything. And I was like, Tony, there are people who need this. You would be doing a disservice if you didn't talk about this. There's going to be people out there who don't want it. They don't need it. But there are people who need this stuff. So get the word out. Let people know about it, because the alternative is, for those people, they just keep going through the motions in life. That's all they're going to do. And then they get to, and just think about this, how sad it is. You go through life, you go through a job, you go through the life, doing a job that you don't like, or you're just getting by. Yeah, you're making pretty good money. You got job security, but you're not really excited about it. You're not having fun. You're not enthusiastic. You get to retirement age, that keeps going up. You get to retirement age, and then you go and you travel a little bit. Maybe you do a couple hobbies. You do some gardening or whatever you want to do, which is nothing wrong with that if that's what you like to do. I'm just saying that if you had something more that you wanted to do, it's a shame that you didn't do it. You know what I'm saying? And then you get to one day, you give the house to the kids, and then it's time to go. You know what I mean? Isn't that sad? You know what I mean? I just think that's sad, especially if you have something more that you want to do in life. Now, by all means, don't misunderstand me. If you are happy with your life, then by all means, who would I be to tell you that you need to change? You see what I'm saying? I would never do that. That wouldn't make sense. But I know, like I said, going back to those people that I know who get up in the morning every day and they're not happy, the question, because you have two possibilities. You can either keep doing what you're doing and keep feeling that way and keep believing that there's nothing that you can do, because, you may or may not have heard the saying by Henry Ford, I believe it was, because it's been attributed to Confucius, I think, and other people as well. That, whether you believe you can or whether you believe you can't, either way, you will be right. Because if you believe you can, you're going to at least try it. You're going to try and explore and research and ask and read and look stuff up, until you find out what it is you want. If you don't believe it's possible, you're not going to do anything. And if you don't do anything, nothing is going to happen. See what I'm saying? So I just kind of wanted to share this with you. This is kind of like my story of change. And like I said, stay with me on this. If this is something that you think might interest you, or if you think it's something that might interest someone that you love, or someone who's close to you, a friend, a family member, or something, just have them stay with me, because I love what I do. I left that company that I loved, and if you ask me, do I miss it? Yes, a little bit. But what far outweighs that is all the experiences I've had over the years that I will talk to about in upcoming podcasts and upcoming episodes and upcoming videos. I'm going to talk to you about all this stuff. I'm going to talk to you about how I felt, what I did, what the plan was, how I executed it, how I came up with it, why a lot of people don't achieve their goals. I'm going to talk, got so much stuff to say. I really do. And I'm doing this now because I know that there's so many people out here who need some stimulus like this. And like I said, I just want, if you feel like I felt years ago, that you're stuck in a job and you don't know how to get out, or you're stuck in a situation and you don't know how to get out, I just want you to know this. There's somebody here who understands you. And don't ever let anybody tell you that there's something wrong with you, that it's not normal. It's not normal for them. It's normal for you. Don't do anything stupid. Don't just leave your job from one day to the next without having a plan. If you feel like you need to do that, come see me first. Talk to me. There's ways that you can contact me. Look at the links here around the video or around this podcast, and there's ways for you to work with me. If you want to, you can click on the link here in the podcast description or under the video, and there's a free ebook. And I'll walk you through all my steps and what I did and how I did it and everything. And then also you could also have the possibility to work together with me for a short period of time in what I call a challenge, a 14-day challenge that will help you to get some clarity about what you should and what you should not be doing going forward in your life. Okay? So, stay with me, because I got a lot more things to say.